Hello, parents of second graders. My name is Sister Mary Imelda. I teach second grade at St. Vincent de Paul School, and Laurel's asked me to do just one or two videos about what you are preparing for this lesson of the week that you're going to do with your child. So this week, the topic is choice, free will, and its consequences. So I'd like to start by kind of giving the big picture. Let's start all the way back at Genesis with Adam and Eve. So I'm not going to quote Bible and verse, but in the Bible, talking about Adam and Eve, it mentions that God created them in his image and likeness. Now, if we really think about this, we probably have some questions, because how can God create us in his image and likeness if God doesn't have a body? And we do. So what then is that image and likeness? What does that mean? And the fathers of the church talk about it and kind of boil it down to two main things. First, that we have an eternal soul. So we have a soul, the spiritual part of us that does not die, and this part of us is connected with the body but can live without it. So there's our soul, eternal soul, and our ability to choose, our free will. This is a very, very important part of what it means to be made in God's image and likeness and what it means to be human. So God created Adam and Eve in his image and likeness with the ability to choose, with free will. This made them very unlike the animals. The animals choose according to instinct. So we can say they choose, to go this way rather than this way. But really, it's an instinct. It's kind of God's decision put into them. Whereas man, every human person, has the ability to choose freely. Now, Adam and Eve were created perfect. That means they didn't have an inclination to sin. However, this did not take away their ability to choose sin, to choose against God. And this is what happened. This is what we call the original sin. When they chose to eat the apple and disobey God's command, they chose against God, and they could do this because of their free will. Now, this choice of Adam and Eve, this original sin, because every sin is our own choice, this choice of Adam and Eve had consequences for all of creation and all of humanity. And this is the experience that we feel. While Adam and Eve, as perfect, created perfect, did not tend towards sin, by their choice, now all of us, every human person since Adam and Eve, I'll talk about the exception in a second, has this inclination towards sin, this sort of tendency to choose against God. So that choice of Adam and Eve had incredible consequences. It even affected creation. And I don't have time to explain all of that, but that is the importance of their choice. It had an effect on every person and the entirety of creation. Now, if you think that our choices don't have the same consequences, let's skip thousands of years later to Jesus and Mary. Now, Jesus and Mary, a human person but created without original sin, and Jesus, God in the flesh, of course, without then original sin because he's God. These two persons did not have original sin. They're the only persons in all of humanity to not have original sin. And in the letter to the Romans, I'm pretty sure it's letter to the Romans, St. Paul talks about this parallel between Adam and Eve and Jesus and Mary. And their choice for God, Mary's choice, her yes to God in the Annunciation, Jesus' obedience to God, following the will of his Father all the way to his death and ultimately his resurrection. Also, those choices of obedience, the opposite of what Adam and Eve said, had effect on all of creation. right? It's had the effect of saving all of us from our sins. So the choices of human beings has incredible consequences. And often we can't even see the effect of our choices. Adam and Eve were like, oh, I choose, this apple. How big of a deal is that? It seems small. But even our choices to obey God, no matter if that's something very small, as in saying something kind to someone, or something very big, as in choosing to not commit a mortal sin, like killing someone, no matter what the size of those choices, they have incredible consequences for all of humanity and all of creation. So this is what we want to teach our children this week, this importance of their choices, that they can choose, they have free will, just like we mentioned with Adam and Eve. They are completely free to choose good or to choose evil. And those choices that they make have consequences for all of humanity and all of creation. Enjoy.